All right, so today we're doing a deep dive into something we interact with every day, agriculture.
That's right.
But for this deep dive, imagine we're in like a classroom,
I like it.
like a high school bio lab, with those stools that are a little too high,
Yeah,
the faint smell of
yeah.
formaldehyde.
Hopefully we'll keep the formaldehyde
Yeah,
to a minimum.
deal. And no dissecting frogs either, unless absolutely.
Oh, no promises.
Okay.
No promises. But in all seriousness, I've
Yeah.
got some fascinating material for you today.
Oh, okay.
We're going to be exploring the history and technology of something we interact with every single day.
Okay.
Agriculture.
I am intrigued, but I have to admit, my knowledge of agriculture
Right.
doesn't extend much beyond
Right.
picking out ripe avocados at the grocery store.
Well, get ready for some serious enlightenment because today I'm the teacher
Ooh.
and you're the student.
Finally, a classroom where I might actually get an A.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Okay.
First pop quiz.
Okay.
Did you know that the agricultural revolution wasn't one single event, but happened in different parts of the world at different times?
I vaguely remember something about that from history class.
Okay.
But the details are a bit fuzzy, Professor.
Well, picture our early human ancestors.
Okay.
They were nomadic hunter-gatherers,
Okay.
constantly on the move in search of food.
Makes sense. Got to follow the food.
Right.
What did they eat back then? Just like whatever they could scavenge.
Not exactly.
Okay.
They were surprisingly skilled.
Oh.
They had a deep understanding of edible plants, knew when and where to find them, and even had tools for digging up roots and grinding seeds.
So they already had a decent grasp of botany
Yeah.
and some basic tools.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like they were well on their way to farming.
They were. In fact, they already had about 2/3 of what they needed for agriculture. The aha moment came around 10,000 BCE
Okay.
when they figured out how to till the soil and intentionally plant seeds.
Wait, so they were already experts in foraging.
Yeah.
They had the tools, but hadn't thought to just plant things on purpose.
It seems obvious to us now,
Yeah.
but it was a revolutionary leap in thinking. This simple shift from foraging to farming
Yeah.
completely transformed the course of human history.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I guess sometimes the biggest breakthroughs come from the simplest ideas.
Mm-hmm.
So that this deliberate planting of seeds, that's what kickstarted the whole agricultural revolution.
Exactly. It wasn't just about the tools. It was a complete lifestyle shift.
Yeah.
Imagine going from roaming vast landscapes to settling down and tending to a plot of land.
I bet that came with a whole new set of challenges.
Absolutely.
Like what happens when your one crop fails?
Right.
Suddenly those foraging skills come in handy again.
Exactly. You're getting it.
Yeah.
That shift led to food surpluses, which in turn led to population growth, the development of villages, and ultimately the rise of civilizations as we know them.
Okay, I'm starting to see the bigger picture here.
Good.
But as with any major change, I imagine there were trade-offs, right?
Reverse.
What were some of the downsides of this agricultural revolution?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
One major development was the rise of monoculture.
Okay.
The practice of planting vast fields with a single crop.
At first glance, that sounds pretty efficient.
Sure.
Maximize your output, specialize in one thing. Why is that a problem?
Well, imagine planting corn in the same field year after year. You're essentially depleting the soil of the same nutrients over and over again. It's like trying to survive on a diet of nothing but pizza.
Okay.
You're going to be missing some essential nutrients.
Okay, that analogy makes sense.
Good.
So monoculture leads to nutrient depletion in the soil.
Yes. But it also creates a haven for pests and diseases when you have a massive field of a single crop.
Yeah.
It's like setting up an all-you-can-eat buffet for anything that likes to munch on that particular plant.
So monoculture makes crops more susceptible to pests and diseases.
Yep.
Got it. Now I'm curious, how do we solve this soil depletion problem?
Okay.
Is it all about those bags of fertilizer I see at the garden center?
That's one approach, but it's not the whole story.
Okay.
Let's break down 4 main technologies.
Okay.
Used to maintain soil fertility,
Okay.
crop rotation,
Wow.
green manure, farm manure,
Okay.
and yes, those commercial fertilizers you mentioned.
Okay. 4 approaches. Crop rotation.
Yeah.
Sounds pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
You switch up what you plant each year, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
It gives the land a break and allows the soil to replenish itself.
Okay.
Sometimes farmers will even plant legumes, like beans or peas,
Yeah.
which have a special ability to add nitrogen back into the soil naturally.
That's clever. It's like giving the soil a multivitamin instead of just pumping it full of one nutrient.
Yeah.
What about this green manure thing? Is that some kind of magical fertilizer potion?
Not quite magical, but it is pretty cool.
Okay.
Green manure involves planting a crop
Okay.
specifically to nourish the soil.
Okay.
It's then plowed back into the ground, acting like a natural compost.
Okay. So it's like sacrificing one crop to make the soil healthier for future plants. Interesting strategy.
Yeah.
What about the third option, the one that shall not be named?
Ah, yes. Farm manure.
Yeah.
It's exactly what you think it is.
Right.
But it's been used for centuries as a natural fertilizer.
Yeah.
And for good reason.
Okay.
It's a readily available source of nutrients. And it's something that needs to be managed anyway.
Right. Turning waste into a resource. Yeah. Two birds, one stone. But I'm guessing there are some downsides.
Yes.
Beyond the obvious aroma.
Well, one issue is that it's difficult to ensure even distribution of nutrients.
Okay.
And large volumes are needed.
Yeah.
There are also concerns about potential water contamination if it's not handled properly.
So it's not a perfect solution.
Right.
And finally, we have the commercial fertilizers.
Yes.
Convenient, but maybe not the most sustainable option.
They're definitely efficient and widely used.
Okay.
But overuse can lead to runoff polluting waterways and harming ecosystems. It's all about finding that balance between what's good for our crops and what's good for the environment.
It sounds like there's no one-size-fits-all solution.
No.
It's about choosing the right approach.
Right.
Based on the specific needs of the soil and the environment.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've tackled the soil problem. But what about those pesky pests? I'm picturing a swarm of locusts descending upon a field, devouring everything in sight.
Oh.
How have humans dealt with that throughout history?
Well, the obvious answer is pesticides,
Okay.
which have played a major role in protecting crops.
Yeah, I was just thinking that pesticides kill bugs.
Mm-hmm.
But what about the unintended consequences?
You're spot on to be thinking critically about that.
Right.
Pesticides can be toxic to non-target organisms, including us.
Uh-oh.
And then there's the scary phenomenon of biomagnification.
Bio what now?
It essentially means that pesticides can become more concentrated as they move up the food chain.
Okay.
So small amounts in the soil can end up in higher concentrations in animals that eat those plants and even higher in the predators that eat those animals.
Whoa, that's pretty terrifying.
It is.
It's like a domino effect of toxicity. And I bet the bugs themselves are getting smarter, right?
Exactly. Pests can develop resistance to pesticides over time. Through natural selection, this creates an evolutionary arms race where we constantly need to develop new and stronger chemicals, which can lead to a vicious cycle.
It all sounds a bit like a losing battle.
Yeah.
So if pesticides aren't the ideal solution, what are the alternatives to this chemical warfare on pests?
Believe it or not, there are quite a few.
Okay.
They range from simple mechanical methods to more high-tech solutions.
All right.
All aimed at controlling pests without relying solely on chemical warfare.
Okay, let's start with the low-tech options.
All right.
What can we do without needing fancy labs or equipment?
Well, there are mechanical controls, like traps, barriers, or even just picking pests off plants by hand.
Right.
This works well for small gardens,
Yeah.
but is obviously impractical on a large scale.
Makes sense. So what about using nature to fight nature? I'm thinking things like ladybugs eating aphids.
You're thinking along the right lines. That's the idea behind cultural and biological control.
Okay.
Cultural control involves strategic planting to discourage pests, like using companion plants that repel certain insects.
Oh, so like planting marigolds next to your tomatoes.
Exactly.
To keep away those pesky whiteflies.
Exactly.
Wow.
Biological control takes it a step further
Yeah?
by introducing natural predators of the pests.
Okay.
Think ladybugs for aphids or certain wasps that parasitize caterpillars.
So we're basically enlisting nature's own pest control squad.
You are.
I like it.
Good.
And I remember reading something about using insects' mating behaviors against them.
Oh, yeah.
How does that work?
That's called sex attractant control.
Okay.
And it's pretty ingenious.
Okay.
There are a couple of ways to do it. You can release sterilized males into the population, which disrupts mating and reduces the number of offspring.
Oh, wow.
Or you can use pheromones, which are basically insect perfumes, to confuse and disorient pests, making it harder for them to find mates.
So we're using insect psychology against them. That's pretty clever.
It is. These methods are generally considered safer than pesticides. But it's important to remember that even well-intentioned solutions can have unintended consequences.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Like the cane toad fiasco in Australia, right?
Exactly.
They were introduced to control beetles, but ended up wreaking havoc on the ecosystem.
A classic example of why we need to proceed with caution and carefully consider the potential impact of any intervention, no matter how well-intentioned.
Lesson learned.
Good.
So we've covered ancient farming techniques to battling pests. What about the future of agriculture? Are we going to be farming on Mars anytime soon?
Maybe someday.
Oh.
But for now, let's focus on some innovations happening right here on Earth. Ready to ditch the soil altogether.
Ditch the soil? Now you've got my attention. Tell me more.
All right, buckle up. Let's dive into the world of soil-free farming. There are two main approaches. They do.
What exactly are they?
Hydroponics involves growing plants in a nutrient-rich water solution instead of soil. Imagine a vertical farm bathed in the glow of LED lights, where rows upon rows of plants thrive without a speck of dirt.
Wow, that's a wild image.
It is.
It sounds super efficient and futuristic.
It is.
And aeroponics.
Yes.
Does that involve spaceships?
Not quite, but it's still pretty amazing. Aeroponics takes things a step further. The plant roots are suspended in the air and sprayed with a precise mist of nutrients.
Wow.
No soil, no mess.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So are these high-tech methods the future of all agriculture? Are we all going to be eating hydroponic lettuce?
Yeah.
And aeroponic tomatoes?
Well, there's certainly promising technologies, especially for urban farming and areas with limited land or water resources.
Makes sense.
But they do have limitations.
Like what?
For one, they're currently more expensive to set up and maintain than traditional farming. And they're not suitable for all crops. Some plants, like root vegetables, just don't thrive in these systems.
So it's not a simple swap out for all our current methods?
It's not yet, at least. It's more likely that we'll see a combination of approaches. Traditional farming alongside these innovative techniques. The key is to find the right tools for the right situation.
That makes sense. It's all about finding that sweet spot between efficiency, sustainability, and practicality.
Exactly.
Wow. This deep dive has been an eye-opener. Who knew there was so much to learn about growing food?
It is fascinating.
It's way more complex than I ever imagined.
It really is, and we've only just scratched the surface.
There's a whole world of research and innovation happening in agriculture, from genetic engineering to precision farming techniques. It's a constantly evolving field.
That's both exciting and a little daunting.
I agree.
So where do we go from here? What does the future hold for agriculture?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? How do we feed a growing population sustainably? How do we balance technological advancements with environmental responsibility? These are challenges that will continue to shape the future of agriculture.
It's definitely food for thought.
It is.
And speaking of food, I'm suddenly craving a big salad. But maybe not that cane toad thing.
Let's to the veggies.
This
deep dive has given us a lot to chew on.
It certainly has. We've gone from ancient tools to high-tech farms. Exploring the history, the technology, and even the psychology of growing food. Who knew?
And the learning doesn't stop here. We'll pick up next time. All right. With even more surprising facts about agriculture. Until then, happy farming.
Thanks, Professor.
You're welcome.
I'm looking forward to our next class.
Me too.
Okay, Professor. My brain is officially full.
All right.
I need a snack break before we tackle any more agricultural adventures.
All right, how about this?
Okay.
We'll take a quick detour from the history lesson.
Okay.
And dive into some of the challenges and opportunities facing agriculture today.
Okay.
Think of it as a field trip
Ooh, a field trip.
into the 21st century.
I always love those lead the way teacher.
Well, one of the biggest challenges facing agriculture is quite simply how to feed a growing global population.
Okay.
The United Nations estimates that there will be nearly 10 billion people
Wow.
on Earth by 2050.
10 billion, that's a lot of mouths to feed.
It is.
And we already see issues with food insecurity in many parts of the world.
Exactly. So how do we produce enough food for everyone
Right.
while also ensuring that it's nutritious?
Yeah. Affordable and accessible?
Right.
It's a complex issue with no easy answers.
It sounds like we need to find ways to make agriculture more efficient and sustainable.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe even a bit more creative.
You're absolutely right.
Okay.
That's where technology comes in.
Okay.
We're seeing incredible advancements in areas like precision agriculture, vertical farming, and even lab-grown meat.
Those all sound super high-tech.
They are.
Break it down for me.
Okay.
What exactly is precision agriculture?
Okay.
Does it involve robots planting seeds or something?
Not quite robots, but it does involve some pretty cool technology.
Okay.
Think of it as farming with lasers and satellites.
Okay.
Precision agriculture uses sensors, GPS and data analytics to optimize every aspect of crop production.
So instead of just scattering seeds and hoping for the best,
Yeah.
farmers are using technology to make really informed decisions.
Precisely. Precision agriculture helps farmers determine the optimal amount of water, fertilizer, and pesticides to use, which minimizes waste and reduces the environmental impact.
That's amazing. It's like taking the guesswork out of farming. What about vertical farming?
Okay.
Is that like those hydroponic setups we talked about earlier, just on a larger scale?
You got it. Vertical farms are essentially multi-story buildings where crops are grown indoors, often using hydroponics or aeroponics.
So we're talking about skyscrapers filled with lettuce and tomatoes.
It does, doesn't it?
That sounds like something straight out of a futuristic movie.
And the cool thing is,
Yeah.
vertical farms can be built anywhere, from urban rooftops to abandoned warehouses,
Oh, wow.
bringing food production closer to consumers and reducing transportation costs.
That's a brilliant way to utilize space, especially in crowded cities. Plus, it seems like you'd have more control over the growing environment, right?
Exactly.
No more worrying about droughts or pests.
Vertical farms offer greater control over factors like temperature, humidity, and light, which can lead to higher yields and year-round production.
Okay, so precision agriculture and vertical farming are pretty impressive. But lab-grown meat, is that really a thing?
It is.
Are we talking about chicken nuggets grown in a petri dish?
It's not quite as simple as that.
Okay.
But yes, lab-grown meat is a real thing.
Okay.
It's also known as cultured meat or cellular agriculture.
Oh.
Scientists are literally growing meat in labs from animal cells
Wow.
without the need to raise and slaughter animals.
Wow, that's mind-blowing.
Yeah.
What are the potential benefits of that, besides the obvious no animals were harmed aspect?
Well, it could significantly reduce the environmental impact of meat production, which is a major contributor to greenhouse gas emissions and deforestation.
Yeah.
It also has the potential to address concerns about animal welfare and food safety.
Those are some serious advantages.
They are.
But what does lab-grown meat actually taste like?
Yeah.
Is it the same as regular meat?
That's the million-dollar question. The technology is still in its early stages, but the goal is to create products that are indistinguishable from conventional meat in terms of taste, texture, and nutritional value.
I'm definitely curious to try it.
Good.
It seems like these technological advancements could revolutionize the way we produce and consume food. But are they the silver bullet solution to all of our food problems?
They certainly have the potential to address many challenges. But it's important to remember that technology is just one piece of the puzzle. We also need to address issues like access to land, water, and education for farmers around the world.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
It's not just about developing fancy gadgets, but also about empowering people and creating a more equitable and sustainable food system.
Yes.
For everyone.
Absolutely. And it's about making informed choices as consumers. What we choose to eat has a ripple effect throughout the entire food chain.
So we all have a role to play in shaping the future of agriculture.
We do.
Not just scientists and farmers.
Exactly. Every meal is an opportunity to vote with our forks. supporting sustainable practices, and making conscious decisions about where our food comes from.
I love that analogy.
Good.
This deep dive has given me a whole new appreciation for the complexity of agriculture and the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead.
It's been a fascinating journey, hasn't it?
It really has.
From ancient farming techniques to cutting-edge technologies, we've explored the past, present, and future of how we feed ourselves.
Okay, I think I'm ready for that snack break now.
All right, a quick break.
It is. My brain needs a recharge.
Okay.
Before we tackle any more mind-blowing agricultural concepts.
But when we come back, we'll delve into the fascinating world of genetically modified organisms, or GMOs.
GMOs, now that's a topic that always sparks a lively debate.
It does.
I can't wait to hear what you have to say about them. Seeing a few.
Yeah.
Okay, Professor, I'm shoeled up and ready to tackle this whole GMO thing.
All right.
It seems like everyone has an opinion about them, but honestly,
I'm
a bit fuzzy on the details.
Okay, let's demystify GMOs.
Okay.
It stands for genetically modified organisms, and it's a topic that definitely generates a lot of buzz, both positive and negative.
Yeah, you mentioned GMOs at a dinner party, and suddenly everyone's a geneticist.
Right.
So back to basics.
Yeah.
What exactly are GMOs?
In the simplest terms, GMOs are organisms whose genetic material, their DNA, has been altered in a way that wouldn't occur naturally. Through breeding or other traditional methods.
So scientists are basically tweaking the DNA, giving a plant or animal a specific trait it wouldn't normally have.
That's a good way to put it.
What kind of traits are we talking about?
One common modification is making crops resistant to certain herbicides. Those chemicals used to kill weeds. This allows farmers to spray their fields and wipe out the weeds without harming the crops.
That sounds pretty efficient.
It is.
Less weed competition means higher yields, right?
Exactly. Other modifications focus on pest resistance. Engineering plants to produce substances that naturally ward off insects. This can reduce the need for pesticides, which, as we discussed earlier, can have negative environmental impacts.
So there are potential benefits in terms of efficiency, reducing chemical use, maybe even increasing food production.
Right.
But I know there are concerns about GMOs, too.
Yes.
What are some of the main arguments against them?
One concern is the potential for unintended consequences. Modifying a gene can have unforeseen effects on other parts of the plant. Some worry that this could lead to new allergens or toxins, or impact the nutritional value of the crop.
That makes sense. We've already seen how introducing a species like the cane toad can have a ripple effect throughout an ecosystem.
Exactly.
It's a good reminder that even with the best intentions, we don't always fully understand the long-term consequences of our actions.
Very true.
Okay.
Another concern is the potential for these modified genes to spread to wild plants through cross-pollination, creating superweeds that are resistant to herbicides.
That sounds like a farmer's nightmare.
It would be.
Dealing with weeds is already a huge challenge.
It is, and herbicide-resistant superweeds would definitely complicate things.
Yeah.
And then there's the issue of corporate control over the food supply. Many GMO seeds are patented by large agricultural companies, which critics argue gives them too much power and limits the choices available to farmers.
It's like that age-old saying, who controls the food controls the people. That brings up issues of food sovereignty and access for smaller farmers who may not be able to afford these patented seeds.
Absolutely. You've hit on a crucial point.
Yeah.
The GMO debate is about more than just science. It's about values, economics, and power dynamics. There are no easy answers, and the potential benefits and risks need to be carefully considered.
It sounds like the GMO debate is about more than just science.
It is.
It's about values and priorities as a society.
Absolutely. It's important to approach this topic with an open mind, considering both the potential benefits and risks. The science is complex, and there's a lot of misinformation out there.
So how do we navigate this complex landscape? As consumers, how do we make informed decisions about GMOs?
The key is to be curious and informed. Read labels, do your research from reputable sources, and ask questions about where your food comes from and how it's produced. Ultimately, the choice is up to you. But make it an informed one.
Well said. This deep dive has been quite a journey.
It has.
From the origins of agriculture to the cutting edge of biotechnology.
We've covered a lot.
We've gone from ancient tools to high-tech farms, exploring the history, technology, and even the ethics of growing food.
It's fascinating.
It's been a reminder that food is more than just sustenance.
Absolutely.
It's deeply interconnected with culture, economics, the environment, and even our own values.
You've summed it up beautifully.
Yeah.
Every bite we take is a vote for the kind of food system we want to see in the world.
Food for thought, literally.
It is.
And on that note, I think class is dismissed for today.
All right.
Thank you, Professor, for this incredible learning experience.
The pleasure was all mine.
And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the fascinating world of agriculture.
Yes, thank you.
Until next time, keep learning, keep exploring, and bon appetit.